Nigeria's housing deficit stands at about 17 million housing units, and the recent launch of the Nigeria Housing Financing Scheme has raised expectations that housing can finally be affordable for all Nigerians. How feasible is this? My guest this week is the Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Hello there, glad you could join us on the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuke. The beginning of a process that would increase opportunities for Nigerians to own homes at an affordable rate is the introduction of the 10,000 Affordable Homes Scheme. Well, this program has been designed to ensure that first-time homeowners can have access to funds to own their own house. Well, the focus of this week's edition is financing housing schemes. But up ahead, as part of its determination to put smiles on the faces of the poor, the federal government has launched the first 10,000 mortgage affordable home scheme for Nigerians.
Ask any Nigerian on the street what their top 3 worries are. Housing is likely to be one of them. The World Bank reported that Nigeria has a 17 million housing deficit and requires 59.5 trillion naira to bridge this deficit. This is a huge figure, bearing in mind that the country's 2014 budget is just 4.962 trillion naira. The federal government is seeking to bridge this gap with the launch of its first 10,000 mortgages for affordable homes scheme. The scheme is intended to help Nigerians have access to affordable housing by applying for mortgages in large numbers. For the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, this scheme is the beginning of the housing revolution in Nigeria.
So today we are kicking off the pre-qualification of people for the first initial 10,000 mortgages to be provided by lenders, most of whom are present here with us. They will now be able to process and provide many more mortgages because of the existence of the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Corporation.
Delivery of affordable housing in Nigeria is also receiving necessary impetus through addressing the issues in land administration and management aimed at ensuring that landowners have secure titles and bankable assets.
The Minister of Finance, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, assured Nigerians that due to new mortgage underwriting standards as prescribed by the Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Corporation, the processing time for pre-qualification has reduced from the usual 6 to 9 months to 3 to 6 weeks. She, however, said this would be subject to the level of risk analysis to be undertaken by the mortgage lender.
Now, how feasible is it for the average or low-income earners to own their own homes? Well, joining me now is Mrs. Akon Eyakenyi, the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, for the past 3 decades, Nigeria has had housing problems, promised housing schemes here and there, but we still have a huge lacuna somewhere. What really at the moment is the nation's housing deficit?
The housing deficit for Nigeria for today is put at about 17 million people. It's a fact that Nigeria has a population of about 167 million people. And for us to have 17 million deficit is a great concern, gives a great concern to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is why the present administration, under the leadership of President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, has a great passion to affect the housing sector positively. It forms a part of the transformation agenda of Mr. President. It's a concern, a great concern, for the government to cover up the gap. For that area, what we have tried to do as a Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, our responsibility is that of provision of shelter for Nigerians. Not just shelter, affordable shelter for Nigerians, because it's always a very pathetic situation to see Nigerians or civil servants go through 35 years and at the end of the day they still end up in a rented apartment. So the present administration sees that as a great concern to tackle. And to handle this, certain schemes has been put into place to handle it. For example, in the budget of the ministry, there's a provision, budgetary provision for a revolving sum that will aid the ministry to put up shelters under the prototype housing scheme for Nigerians, and also the ministerial pilot scheme. The money that is budgeted for will be used, do the construction, it is sold, the money revolves back, and then we continue. It cuts across the entire nation. Apart from those schemes to tackle the deficit or to help close up the gap, the government again has established the NMRC company. NMRC means a Nigerian Mortgage Refinance Company. That is to help refinance mortgages, not for construction, refinancing of a mortgage.
That was recently launched.
Yes, that was launched on the 16th February 2004. And then 3 weeks ago, the portal, the website for the project was jointly launched by myself and the Minister of Finance, the coordinating minister. The project, the NMRC, is jointly managed by the Ministry of Finance and my ministry, Ministry of Lands and Housing. The NMRC is to provide 10,000 mortgage for houses for Nigerians. It is to be handled by the two ministries.
Did you say 10,000 houses?
10,000 mortgages for houses. Okay. The problem that Nigerians used to face before now is the purchase, the funding for them to buy the houses. A civil servant might not be able to take out 3 million or 4 million or 5 million, as the case may be, at once to pay for a shelter, pay for a house if built. So developers will build and the off-takers won't have the money. So what NMRC is coming to do is to help the PMIs. PMIs are the primary mortgage institutions to undertake the payment of the buildings for the off-takers, and then it will be spread over a period, over years, for them to pay in trickles.
So right now, what's really the federal government's policy and provision of houses? Because we've had a lot of initiatives coming up in the past.
The policy we have is to ensure that whatever structure that we're coming up with is affordable to give to the Nigerians. Affordability, how will you be able to control it? We have also put in place regulatory rules. We are interacting with the stakeholders. We've interacted with the dealers of building materials, manufacturers, the cements, the roofing sheets, etc. Whatever comes up to put up a structure. Because if the prices, the cost of purchase of those items are high, eventually it will affect the final cost of the construction. So we're interacting with them to bring down the cost of building materials. Again, the government has also put it as a rule, as a law, that government will provide unencumbered land.